You spend 6 years repairing surveillance infrastructure for the Transit Stability Bureau before anyone important learns your name. The work is repetitive enough to erase you. You replace damaged facial recognition nodes after riots, reroute corrupted police archives during blackouts, and crawl through maintenance tunnels beneath a city that watches 30 million people every day. Nobody notices the technicians who keep the cameras alive. That invisibility is the only reason you survive. The message arrives at 2:14 a.m. while you are clearing packet loss inside a relay station beneath Central District. An oversight auditor requests emergency verification on a camera cluster that supposedly failed during a government convoy movement. The request bypasses 3 levels of authorization. That alone tells you something is wrong. You find the auditor dead 23 minutes later. He is slumped beside a server rack with a gunshot wound beneath his jaw and a terminal still open beside him. The room cameras are disabled manually, not remotely. Professional work. Fast. But whoever killed him left before wiping the drive connected to the terminal. You should report it. Instead, you read. The files describe an illegal surveillance architecture hidden inside the city's public infrastructure. Hospitals feeding emotional analysis software. Apartment assistants recording civilian conversations. Transportation systems tracking labor organizers and political dissidents. Entire neighborhoods assign threat scores based on speech patterns, spending habits, and psychological volatility. The city is not monitoring crime. It is modeling human behavior. Then you see your own employee credentials buried inside the access logs. Someone has been using your identity to move classified surveillance archives into off-grid servers. Footsteps echo through the tunnel outside. 3 people. Armed. You disconnect the drive immediately. The terminal flashes red. Unauthorized extraction detected. The footsteps break into a sprint. You kill the room lights and slip behind a coolant manifold seconds before tactical officers flood the corridor. Their uniforms say civil security, but their rifles are military grade and unregistered. The drive's gone, one of them says. Another checks a tracker. Technician ID already flagged. Your ID. The city begins hunting you before you even leave the tunnel. You escape because you know where the cameras are blind. You installed half of them yourself. You move through drainage systems beneath Sector 9 while your identity disappears from the public grid in real time. Your transit access revokes first. Then your housing authorization. Then your bank accounts freeze. By sunrise, every police patrol in the city has your face. You spend 3 days underground before someone finds you. Her name is Mara Vale. Former intelligence liaison. Private sector now, which in this city means legal crimes performed by expensive people. She approaches while you are siphoning power from a dead relay station. You took the drive, she says calmly. Which means they failed to kill you. She explains the truth quickly. The surveillance network began after the harbor bombings 12 years earlier. Emergency powers allowed temporary integration between transportation systems, law enforcement databases, financial monitoring programs, and military intelligence. Temporary became permanent. Then profitable. Politicians used predictive models to suppress unrest before protests formed. Corporations tracked employees for radicalization risks. Syndicates bought police movement forecasts. Everyone fed from the same machine until nobody could dismantle it anymore. Now multiple factions are fighting to control the system completely. The auditor discovered someone centralizing the network again, Mara says. Quietly. Violently. And if they find the drive, you ask. They erase you. At first survival is all you care about. You sell fragments from the drive carefully. Transit blind spots sold to smuggling crews. Police response forecasts sold to underground casinos. Blackmail archives sold to political fixers. Every deal buys protection. Every deal compromises you further. 6 months later, you control enough hidden infrastructure to intercept nearly 10% of the city's surveillance feeds. Not through direct hacking. That gets people caught. You manipulate maintenance systems instead. Outdated infrastructure nobody audits because the city is too large to monitor every layer beneath it. You recruit carefully. A dismissed military engineer. 2 analysts fired after exposing corruption. A cartel accountant who understands how to bury operational financing across offshore shells. None of them trust each other. All of them trust money. You establish operations beneath abandoned desalination tunnels near the harbor sectors. Toxic flooding killed hundreds there years earlier. The government sealed the infrastructure permanently. Which makes it perfect. Within 18 months, your network monitors over 20 million movement profiles daily. You learn quickly that information changes people. Not just the people being watched. The people watching. A district judge campaigns publicly on anti-corruption reforms while laundering money through narcotics fronts. A labor organizer secretly negotiates immunity deals with corporations before leading worker strikes. A police commander investigating trafficking rings is selling detention schedules to the traffickers themselves. You stop believing public morality is real. Surveillance strips the performance away. The first person you knowingly destroy is a financial investigator named Leon Kessler. Smart enough to notice missing data transfers tied to your infrastructure. You watch his life for 12 days before making the decision. You know when he fights with his wife. You know when he stops sleeping. You know exactly how long he stares at his daughter before leaving for work every morning because he thinks someone is following him. He is right. Then he schedules a meeting with internal security. If he talks, your operation dies. So you manipulate the city around him. Traffic systems reroute automatically during morning congestion. An autonomous freight carrier receives altered navigation coordinates for less than 3 seconds. Long enough. Kessler dies instantly when the truck hits his vehicle outside Financial District. The investigation blames outdated traffic software. You tell yourself you did not pull the trigger. That distinction matters less every year afterward. The network expands because power attracts dependency. Politicians begin using your predictive unrest models before elections. Corporations pay enormous sums for emotional analysis reports tracking employee loyalty. Organized crime groups purchase law enforcement movement forecasts hours before raids occur. You become essential to people who would publicly demand your execution. That hypocrisy becomes your greatest protection. By year 4, your organization intercepts nearly 40% of the city-state surveillance architecture. Cameras. Financial transfers. Hospital admissions. School disciplinary records. Communications metadata. The scale becomes impossible to process emotionally. Millions of lives reduced to patterns flowing across your screens. The dangerous part is how normal it starts to feel. You stop reacting to violations that once horrified you. Secret arrests. Political disappearances. Entire neighborhoods scored for instability and denied opportunities before crimes are even committed. At some point, you stop asking whether the system should exist and focus entirely on whether you control it better than your enemies would. That is how people become monsters gradually. Not through ideology. Through adaptation. The real war begins when Directorate Black surfaces publicly for the first time. Most people think Directorate Black is a conspiracy myth left over from the emergency years. It is not. They are remnants of the original intelligence apparatus that built the surveillance network decades earlier. Unlike corporations or syndicates, they do not care about profit. Only consolidation. They begin eliminating independent operators across the city systematically. Data brokers disappear. Infrastructure engineers vanish mid-transit. Entire black market exchanges collapse overnight. Then one of your safe houses burns with 11 employees trapped inside. No survivors. Mara arrives at your operations center bleeding from a gunshot wound. They found Sector 2, she says. You initiate emergency partition protocols immediately. Backup servers activate beneath utility corridors across 6 districts. Encrypted archives transfer offshore through disguised commercial shipping routes. Millions of surveillance records fracture across hidden nodes before Directorate Black can seize them. Still not fast enough. They already infiltrated part of your network. The realization changes you permanently. You stop playing defense. Over the next year, you weaponize everything the system gives you. Affairs leak to destroy political alliances. Financial crimes exposed strategically to collapse corporations funding Directorate Black. Rival syndicates manipulated into open warfare through falsified intelligence. You engineer chaos because chaos slows consolidation. Thousands suffer consequences from decisions made inside rooms they will never see. You stop counting collateral damage after a while because counting requires acknowledging responsibility. The city changes around you. Families leave devices outside bedrooms before speaking honestly. Protests collapse before forming because predictive systems identify organizers weeks in advance. Employers reject applicants based on emotional stability indexes generated from private conversations. Nobody trusts anything anymore. Least of all you. Then the government contacts you directly during the grid failure. A cyber attack cripples power infrastructure across 11 districts during peak winter demand. Hospitals fail. Transit systems shut down. Automated food distribution halts across millions of residents. Official emergency response collapses because too much infrastructure secretly routes through systems your organization now controls. The same officials who spent years condemning illegal surveillance beg for your help before midnight. You demand immunity guarantees, operational protection, and unrestricted infrastructure access across central districts. They agree in under an hour. Not because they trust you. Because the city cannot function without the machine anymore. You restore 70% of the grid overnight using hidden routing systems buried beneath abandoned infrastructure. Publicly, the government takes credit. Privately, ministers begin consulting your analysts before major policy decisions. You become more powerful than elected officials without ever appearing publicly once. Years pass. Your systems can forecast civil unrest with near-perfect accuracy. Predict financial panic before markets react. Identify likely political extremists before they commit crimes. The city begins behaving according to models your network generates. Human behavior becomes manageable. That is the lie that finally breaks you. One night, an analyst flags irregular blind spots appearing across residential Sector 12. For minutes missing every Thursday. Impossible gaps inside one of the most monitored districts on Earth. You investigate personally. The truth unsettles you more than Directorate Black ever did. Your own engineers have been creating escape corridors inside the surveillance system. Quietly helping targeted families avoid predictive arrests. Smuggling dissidents through transit checkpoints undetected. Hiding children flagged by political security algorithms. Hundreds of your employees are involved. Possibly more. You sit alone afterward inside the deepest level of the harbor tunnels while millions of live surveillance feeds move across surrounding screens. Every camera. Every movement profile. Every intercepted conversation flowing through infrastructure you built. You think about the dead auditor beside that terminal years earlier. You finally understand what frightened him. It was never the existence of the surveillance system itself. It was what happens to the people who realize they can shape reality through information and slowly stop seeing other human beings as real at all. Then your primary alert system flashes red across every screen simultaneously. Directorate Black has begun mobilizing across 7 infrastructure sectors at once. Full system seizure attempt. Your operators wait for orders. Outside, 30 million people continue living ordinary lives beneath cameras they barely notice anymore. And for the first time since this began, you do not know whether protecting the network is the same thing as protecting the city.